And good afternoon, LinkedIn. Hi, I'm Steve Ferreira, CEO of Ocean Audit. It's so great to be with you here, pulling the show together at the last minute. We're really excited today. It's going to be a great day, and I really prepared a fascinating hodgepodge of action items for you to take away from today's show. Before we start, though, let me just double check. I want to make sure that you're not seeing the background. Okay. I have three computers and I've got to hit all three and give you this great presentation at the same time today. So I wanted to talk about some really interesting trends that the media wasn't following in ocean freight as it relates to a little bit to as we come out of COVID, and also give you some updated techniques on. Let me just get this cam better. Excuse me. Had a low definition cam on. I wanted to give you some updates on some trans-Pacific statistics that I'm sure you guys will find interesting. So let me launch into my presentation for today. Again, please bear with me. I conceived this whole presentation literally a few hours ago, and we scrambled to put it together. And Sharif, my artist, did a great job. Hey, Sharif, shout out to you there. And I'm really excited. I think the deck came out really well. So let's get into it. I'm Steve Ferreira, CEO of Ocean Audit. I run a ocean freight refund recovery firm. I have a LinkedIn live broadcasting authorization. I like to broadcast under the OK Boomer Live moniker, and you can call me the lapel pin guy because I like lapel pins, but I can't say it today. And definitely too much coffee on the uptake there. And let's get into it. I really want to take you through my my presentation. So here we go. Let me share my screen with you. And did it share screens? Oops. This should share it. God, technology. All right, great. And let me take, that's perfect. I can kind of keep you in the loop here. So I call today's episode the Dirty Harry, COVID-19 baby boom, Russian oil, and Ford, the logistics link, what the mainstream media doesn't know exists, and to keep everyone's focus and to get as many people to join in. Bonus content on Flexport, DHL, and Schenker. I thought it was really interesting. Some of my findings that I came up with in the last 24 hours. So I want to take you through those. But it is great to be here today. Boy, I'll tell you, I really did scramble to put this together for you guys. And it's Friday. And listen, first thing I got to tell you guys, I know what you're thinking. John Monroe, I love you, my man. You're my best friend. And you got to, I love what you said. I got to find a unified time for this. And we're working hard behind the scenes for, more content for OK Boomer Live and Steve Ferreira. So we'll try to get a really good schedule. Right now we're just getting as many episodes as we can under our belt to get a hang of it. So appreciate all the friends and fans and the comments and the followers. It's my LinkedIn's blowing up, and that's what it's intended to do. So let's take you through Logistics Link and some stories that you'll find really fascinating. I know I did. And, I think I got a kick out of bringing them to you. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is that, through ocean freight, we can track, obviously, containers. But I think many of us out there don't realize we can also track break bulk, right? So we can see what Saudi Arabia is doing with oil. And I thought this is just interesting as all heck that, we do, believe it or not, get a lot of oil from Russia, right? I think, there's e-commerce statistics out there that, it's no secret that we get oil from Russia. But I think the average American on the street would say, oh, Russian oil, right? And the problem is, or the opportunity, I guess, is we're just getting a hell of a lot less of it right now. If you look at my stats, we had 5.1 billion barrels versus 1.5. Those are just juxtaposed numbers, but our Russian oil has cratered along with the rest of the energy sector. So it's really no surprise to see the numbers slumping on the barrels of oil that we import from Russia. what's interesting is to see just how prevalent the Exxons and the trading companies are in buying product from Russia. You would be astonished the velocity of the barrels of oil that I see coming in, that I'm tracking in the data that I bring to you on a regular basis. So it's pretty fascinating stuff. I think that the USA Today put out a thing here that said, stay-at-home coronavirus orders are unprecedented in America, but the speculation about what may ensue 9 months later is not. Prepare for a baby boom. The jovial attitude is why there were tabloid stories about a possible global shortage of condoms as condom factories shut down. Under the thinking no condoms equal more babies. Guess what, guys? Condom imports are through the roof. Shipments from Asia and condoms increased 33% this period versus the same period last year. I don't think so. We have a lot of condoms. And how many condoms is that? That's 1.8 billion condoms imported January to June, give or take, a few million. I did my best to convert the amount of condoms in a 40-foot container, and I fell a little short. So I'll leave it at that. But I think that the issue here is that we're seeing a lot of condoms come in. So it's interesting. The orders came in because I think they knew, I can't really kind of like dance around the topic, but we're at home and the birth issue, and like I'm a baby boomer, right? Or I remember the winter of '78 in Boston. There were a lot of babies born the next 9 months, right? Because whatever. And anyway, I'm sorry, I'm kind of dancing all around this topic, but I think what I'm getting at is that this is really interesting. Condom production in Asia is big business, and we have plenty of them, right, guys? So I don't think we're going to have the baby boom, but I mean, it's all over the media. No kidding. I mean, I put this up. This is right on USA Today. So it is what it is. This one is my favorite. I tell you what, I am a big Clint Eastwood fan, Dirty Harry fan. I have a good friend that is a senior. He runs a high-tech, precision-made company for the firearms industry. And his business is through the roof. And I started thinking, firearms, Asia, ammo. Right? Look at ammo. This one, I want this one to be on the front page of some newspaper tomorrow. January, June 2019, January, June 2020, 63% increase in ammo on Asia and European imports into the US. 18 million pounds of ammo and versus 11 million pounds the same period last year. This is amazing stuff. And home protection, stay at home, home security. It's the whole issue, right? And I didn't start thinking about it, but the Second Amendment, right, obviously is a big deal. So, but I just thought maybe this is a COVID-related thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? But ammunition was, just a crazy off the wall. And again, the thought came to my mind because of my neighbor. He keeps telling me like, geez, I'm at this firearms guy. I'm at this, this major firearms manufacturer. They're doubling the orders on this and this and this. And then it's just crazy, and this one, we gotta go viral. I'll tell you what, $100 Amazon gift card to anyone that can get this slide in the national media. Just no questions asked. Autos, right? We all know auto imports are suffering a little bit, but we're able to track the good folks at Ford. Their data is pretty prolific in the car carrier manifests that come in and that I'm privy to. And so the Ford Fusion, Ford Fusion model was down quite a bit, right, as to be expected. And we see that happening, throughout the rest of the auto industry. But it gives you a good idea in terms of, what is happening with with the auto industry and some of the other topics. But I need you guys to work on that ammunition slide, seriously. Lori, CNBC, CNN, Fox Business, give me a call. And doing that, I just hit my mouse pad and I have this ugly slide thing on there we go. And so I think, and again, because I did all this in 10 minutes, I think the next slide is the getting into the Trans-Pacific, just to give you a little snapshot on Flexport, DB Schenker, and who was the last one? It's escaping me now. But the main reason why I had this idea is I was playing around. I had a call with a friend last night, and we were talking about Eric Johnson of the Journal of Commerce. I love Eric. And I was looking at, it led me to look at some rankings. I think they had the top 100 importers come out yesterday or whatever. And sometimes they'll release a top NVO stat, which is always interesting because, measuring and displaying the NVOs, especially Flexport, is, I'm not going to rehash it here for the audience, but it's always a challenge just because of the way data is hidden. And, that's a whole masterclass on taking you guys through that. But I think, oh, hey, Maxwell, happy Friday. So one of the things that I do in the data that's really interesting is you look at the top 10 positions. And for me, it's not so much, who's at number 1 or 2, because, we all kind of know the name brands that hover around that area. But for me, so it's DB Schenker and DHL, and I was looking at Flexport. That's the 3 that I compared. But why that's interesting is that all 3 of these entities, DB, Schenker, Flexport, and DHL, they're all kind of battling for, 9th, 10th, 11th place, in the rankings. So I guess in my book, if you're in the top 10, you're certainly doing something right. But also, I think one of the things that I'm doing a stat on, and it may be a show next week or sometime soon, is what percentage of the NVO's business comes from X amount of clients. So I'm looking at a couple NVOs right now where 10% of their business comes from 10 clients, right? And so they're a top 15 NVO. And, all it takes is, 1 or 2 of those beneficial cargo owners to become entrenched from that NVO, and they slide through the rankings. I think that's another thing too with commodities, how sensitive they are, that cause, NVO rankings to plummet and skyrocket because, you get lucky and you tag onto the furniture world or, into the footwear genre, or, you're able to buy cargo because of leveraging your NAC or FAK opportunistic rates that you set up. There's a whole reason why you can obviously plummet or skyrocket into the rankings. But Flexport's always interesting, right? Because, they certainly have their naysayers in terms of, they haven't done well volume wise. And then you have the old guard forwarders, right? Like, Schenker and DHL, both of who I respect the hell out of all 3. But, each does it their own separate way. So I thought it was interesting. And again, I'm kind of doing this because my slide gives it away in terms of where the rankings are. So let's go to it. And so here you have, this is year to date, January 2020. I feel that these numbers are absolutely perfect. And so DHL, January to June 23rd, by my findings, have 80,000 TEU, Schenker 74,000, and Flexport 55,000. So, I'm not right now. I'm not a data. I don't sit down like a JOC and organize the stats. I mean, I'm a ocean freight auditor. That's my funds and my income are from my clients that I post audit. But if I were to slot these companies right now, I mean, it's pretty impressive that Flexport is not necessarily right on top of Schenker, but enough within breathing distance of another 5 or 8 major named accounts that could put them over the top. But I would rank them right now probably I'm going to go and say, 9, 10, and 12. DHL maybe in 9th place, Schenker 10th, Flexport maybe right outside of the top 10. But again, I didn't do Apex or Expeditors or any of the other entities that would be obviously top shelf, top drawer, top tier. But I think that I think that John makes a good point. Obviously, the April negotiations where we saw a sliding of volume shifting from one NVO to another. So I obviously respect that in terms of how these rankings. I don't pretend to say that these rankings are based on one thing or the other. For me, as an expert, looking outward and helping my clients, it's about consistency, right? So, these three seem to have the consistency of being in the top 10 or outside the top 10, year in, year out. And, Flexport, I was quite surprised because the Flexport number grew from last year. I know that surprises a lot of people, but I validated it with my own professional approach towards being perfected in terms of making sure I was counting the right things. And I have to give a shout out to Ryan Peterson and Sane at Flexport and Ben for staying on top of the game, and also obviously to David at DHL and the great folks at DB Schenker that are running the shop there. I've had some great conversations with both the German and U.S. teams, so I guess I'll leave that at that. But these are great entities, and I think clients would always be well served and looking at these as well as other up and coming NVOs, in the middle of the pack. I think that what you have to also reconcile is that like U.S. stocks today that suffered, there's always a stress test that come into play. I think with these NVOs where we have to be cognizant of how financially stable they are. And obviously the stability of where those NVOs are important to the beneficial cargo owner, to the continuity of services. And I've always felt that the ocean carriers do seem to be putting more harsher terms on the intermediate NVOCCs because of obviously any kind of financial stress that might be perceived there. So I think that we've had a good reckoning with today's OK Boomer live show. I hope that I've imparted some new information or interesting information that you can share through the ranks. And I do stand by my my Amazon offer on the ammunition, because I think that's fascinating story that the mainstream media really needs to know about, that we have so much ammunition coming in. And if I'm not mistaken, I have to take a look at that. I think a lot of that comes in from South Korea, if I'm not mistaken. That seems to be a hotbed of where ammunition is produced. I don't know the caliber or the style or the type. That's just not my forte. But looking at it from a interesting volume standpoint is. So that's the show today. Thanks again for watching. Steve Ferreira, CEO, Ocean Audit. You can find me, Steve Ferreira, on LinkedIn, oceanaudit.com. Also on YouTube at OK Boomer TV. So that's my deal. Have a great weekend, and I'll be in touch with all of you. Get back to me. Contact me in the box. My email is stevef@oceanaudit.com. Take care. Have a great weekend.